Principles of Networking, along with the Who Effect. Presented by Lee Cummins of LC Connect. My name is Lee and I am LC Connect. I have aligned my business with three businesses. One is the HeartLink Network, which is a women's networking group. I brought that over from America to Australia because I felt that at the time there was a hole in the networking landscape that needed filling, and I was very grateful for the HeartLink Network. I'm also a qualified and certified Primary Colours personality profiler, along with certified trainer, in fact the only one in Australia. I've aligned myself with Appreciation You Can Touch, which is Send Out Cards, and a senior manager with Send Out Cards. Along with these three companies, I also bring to my business my extensive background with small to medium businesses and helping them to grow their business. I'll be mentioning the HeartLink Network, Primary Colours, and also Send Out Cards throughout this presentation. We'll be covering off the 6 networking principles. Number 1 is choosing the right network for you. Number 2 is being consistent, and we're also going to have a look at the seagull effect. Number 3 is first impression, last impression. Number 4, listening with intent. Number 5 is follow up and follow through. Number 6 is connector and connections. So sit back, grab yourself a notepad and pen and be prepared to take some notes. I hope today that I can share some real gems with you and give you some insights into the 6 networking principles to help you become a fantastic networker. Number 1, choosing the right network. When you come to choosing the right network for you, it could be 1, 2, or 3 different types of networks. But what you do need to consider are 3 of the key ingredients, which is time, cost or investment, and regularity. Many networking events are held on different time frames. There's different costs associated with different types of networking events, and different networking events have multiple or different types of regularity. So let's get started. I've broken networking up into multiple areas. I'm not saying any are better or worse than the other. Obviously, I'm associated with the HeartLink Network, and I think that's pretty good. However, there are so many different types of networking events out there and so many to choose from. Starting off with the cattle call networking event. Sounds a bit horrible, doesn't it? Cattle call. But it really is quantity over quality. Cattle call networking events are generally in excess of 50 plus people or 100 people. Quite often a cattle call, what I call cattle call networking event, also has something associated with it. So it may have an expo, it may have a group of speakers, or it could have a combination of both. Cattle call networking is normally low cost because it is quantity of people over quality of leads. The next type of networking event is referral networking. Referral networking is an event where you attend and you offer referrals to the participants, and vice versa, you'll receive referrals back. Without going into great detail, there is a fantastic networking company called BNI, Business Network International, which was created by Dr. Ivan Misner. BNI is an international organisation. If you'd like to find out more about referral networking and the BNI chapters, then you can go to bni.com.au for all information about Australia, or simply Google Business Network International. Mothers groups are a fantastic opportunity for mumpreneurs. Now, you may be a mum that has got children that are not in school or not in childcare, and you need to do business with them in tow. Quite often traditional networking events don't allow children because it is a business network and it's made up of multiple types of businesses and business owners. However, mothers groups of networks, these are fantastic networking events if you've got a bub or a child that you need to take along to the networking event, because quite often bub and child are more than welcome. Also, if your business lends itself to being targeted to mothers or to children, then why not see whether you can also attend a mothers group networking event? Educational networking. Now, these are more like events, and you'll see a lot of these advertised on Facebook. You'll see keynote speakers that are advertising a course or a free event. They're basically going to give you snippets of information so that they can on-sell from the stage their package or more events and so on and so forth. So it is an opportunity though for you to get to these educational events and network. The beauty of it is that you're meeting with business owners that have the same inclination to find out about the guest speaker and the information that they're sharing. These are not generally advertised as a networking event, but they do give you a great opportunity. Educational events and educational networking events quite often are low cost, no cost, or there may be a small fee. But they are a great way to get out there and meet other business owners. Relationship networking. Relationship networking is about building a know, like, and trust factor. Relationship networking generally is a little bit slower than your referral networking or your educational networking, because relationship networking is about building relationships. It's about getting to know a person, why they're in their business, how they came about their business. It's also getting to like that person. You may take a lot of your meetings out of your networking event into other, say, coffee catch-ups throughout the course of the week or the month. It's also building a trust factor, and a know, like, and trust factor then helps to build referrals. But relationship networking is not so much based around strict referrals. It's more about the relationship, and from that flows referrals. Because let's face it, it's easier to refer a friend's business than it is a stranger's business. I would put the HeartLink network under relationship networking. Breakfast meeting networking. Now, we've mentioned BNI. Quite often their events aren't breakfast meetings, but there are also an amazing amount of breakfast meeting networking that has sprung up from individuals creating networking events that are breakfast. And these are fantastic because you can, let's face it, most people eat breakfast. You can go to the meeting, have breakfast, network, and a lot of times these events are done and dusted by 9, 9:30 or even 9:45, which gives you the rest of the day to continue seeing clients, building business, etc. Breakfast networking is a great opportunity to get out and meet people if you are time poor. Now, we've talked about time poor, but what about if you are looking at where you're spending each individual dollar? If you're doing networking on a bit of a budget, have a look at meetups and informal networkings. These come up through just businesses that run informal networking events. I not only run the HeartLink network, I also run LC Coffee Connects, and I just pick random coffee houses and meet up, and it's very informal, and all it is the cost of your cup of coffee. So these can be quite good if you are networking on a budget. Don't forget to look at Meetup. Meetup is a great way to network with people with different types of different types of things that may interest you. So meet up and informal networking. Don't discount them because they are definitely worthwhile having a look at. 2, being consistent. This principle is definitely one of the most important principles to really understand and develop and continue to commit to. Being consistent. Once you've decided what type of networking event you are going to be attending, make sure that you put it in your diary or your planner. Add it to your diary or your planner as you would a business meeting with a prospect or a client. Treat these networking events as a business opportunity. Don't treat them as something like a bit of a free-for-all fun catch-up, because they are business meetings. Even if they're a relationship networking, yes, we want to get to know, like, and trust people, but they are a business. It is not a social hub. It also means that if you are treating your networking event as a business meeting and you're being consistent, you build trust through consistency. If you are consistent in attending meetings, it demonstrates to the group that you're committed to the group, and you're also committed to the attendees. You're committed to the success of the networking event, and you're committed to the success of each of the individual attendees, and also to the structure of the meetings. Quite often when I'm running events, I hear people say, is XYZ going to be here today? I have a referral for them, or I have an order for them. Don't be the person that is being questioned if you are going to be there. It really does do damage to your business and to you. When you think about when you're referring business to somebody, you are putting your reputation on the line. You think about that really well, because say my next door neighbour is looking for, let's say, a cleaner, and I know a cleaner through a networking event. I'm putting my reputation on the line with my neighbour to say I know a really good cleaner who's reliable. Here's her number. If you don't turn up at networking events and you're not consistent and you're not reliable, it doesn't project reliability and consistency. So subconsciously, when we're referring business, we wonder, gee, are they going to be consistent and are they going to be reliable? Now, I use my mum as a litmus test. I think, are they going to be reliable, and are they going to be consistent, and are they going to be helpful? If it was my mum, would I trust this person or this business with my mum? If the answer is yes, I'll refer business for them. If the answer is I'm not sure, I hold back. So you want to be consistent and you want to be reliable. Now, let's look at the opposite side with the seagull principle. Now, I'm going to take you back on a little journey for a minute. Take you back to when you were a child at the beach. And remember when Mum and Dad or Nan and Pop said, let's have fish and chips. And you were pretty excited, weren't you? You'd run probably across hot pavement to get to the fish and chip shop. And if you're about my age, it was probably wrapped in newspaper. But nowadays it's wrapped in big white paper. So you run and grab your fish and chips and you go back to the beach and you sit down on one of those, tables and chairs that you've got to cock your leg over to get a good seat. You open up your fish and chips and the beautiful smell of fish and chips comes wafting out and your mouth's watering. You're all excited, you're having a lovely day, when all of a sudden you get bombarded. You get bombarded by seagulls squawking like, wah, wah, wah. What are they doing? They are out there scavenging for anything they can get from you. And they don't shut up. They just keep squawking and squawking and squawking and hanging around until you throw them something. You'll throw them a little tidbit. And then they'll make some more noise until you throw to them some more. And they'll keep going until there's nothing left. And then once nothing is left and you've wrapped up the papers and you've thrown them out, what do? Look down to the next table that's just opened their fish and chips, and that same seagull is there squawking and squawking and making noise until they get a tidbit. And that is the same with seagull networkers. Seagull networkers, they swoop in to a meeting, they squawk, they make a lot of noise. In fact, it's all about them. If you've got a 1 minute to showcase, they'll take 6. They don't know how to use a timer or a clock. If it's a 3-minute showcase, they'll take 10. And they will squawk and squawk and squawk about their business, and they will take until they've got what they have got there for, and then they will move on to the next networking event. You do not want to be known as a seagull. You want to be known as somebody that is trustworthy, consistent, and reliable. So just remember the seagull principle. Don't become a seagull. Principle number 3, first impression, last impression. How often do we hear first impression is the most important impression? And it is, to an extent. First impressions, I believe, are things like being prepared, having enough business cards if you use business cards. Now, I know there's some people that refuse to use business cards, and that's fine, but whatever you do to be able to connect with people and get them to connect back with you, be prepared with that. I personally prefer business cards. If your company has samples, make sure you've got samples. With my business, I don't necessarily have samples that I give out, but I have samples to show people the different types of things. So have samples. First impression is dressing to your business type. Now, if you are a personal trainer, for example, you're not going to turn up at a networking event in a 3-piece suit. But you might have a personal training jacket that has your logo on it, and you might have nice runners and good gym gear, for example. Maybe you're a postie consultant. Well, you'd wear postie clothing. If you're a business consultant, you would make sure that you were in business attire. So you want to dress to your business type. Nobody has to be wearing Gucci or the latest fashion out of Country Road or anything like that. You definitely don't have to be wearing the latest fashions, unless of course you're a fashionista, that's your business. But you do want to dress to your business type and make sure you're neat and dressed well. Now, this is a funny one, and I do remember being taught this a long time ago, and I am a bit heavy-handed with my perfume. I've actually slowed down a bit these days, but just a small amount of perfume or aftershave if you're a man, but you just want to have a small amount, not too heavy, because it can be overpowering. Some people have allergies, and also we associate smell with different things, and you want to just have a light perfume, not too heavy. If you're a smoker, make sure you've got some mints in your bag that you don't have cigarette smell. I went to a store just recently, and the young girl was leaning over the counter talking to me, and I just got a breath full, a face full of cigarette breath, and just made me want to be sick. So make sure you, even if you're a smoker, peppermints. Coffee breath. We all love our coffee, and so do I. Make sure you've got some mints for your coffee breath. Now, of course, you've got the middle, which is your presentation. I haven't put this in there, but I will say one thing. If you go to networking events, there are different time constraints for your presentations. There's some that have 1 minute, some have 45 seconds, some have 3 minutes, some have 2 minutes. Normally the host or hostess will tell you how long your showcase is for. Be mindful. If it's 1 minute, stick to 1 minute. If it's 45 seconds, stick to 45, 50 seconds. If it's 3 minutes, stick to 3 minutes. I tell you what, it really does. People stop listening after that amount of time. If it's 1 minute and you ramble on for 4, you might as well just be going blah, 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 blah for the last 3 minutes, because majority of people will switch off. They will listen for that 1 minute, maybe a minute and a half. After that, it's just noise that you are sharing. So that's just a little hint for the middle. Now, that last impression. The last impression is about what you're remembered for, and you want to be remembered for the right reasons, not the wrong reasons. So you want to leave a lasting impression that is a good lasting impression. Ways that you can do that is thank the host or the hostess for the event. See if they need help packing up. That is a great lasting impression. Helping somebody take things down to their car, or having a diary and making appointments for between meetings. It's about being remembered, not deleted. And I'm going to talk about that in follow-up. So just remember that, being remembered, not deleted. You do want to be remembered for the right reasons. Share and show appreciation. It is amazing the last impression that you will leave if you show appreciation. As I said, by thanking the host or the hostess, sending, if there's been a guest speaker that's been that presented, see if you can grab their postal address and send them, a nice card of appreciation saying thank you, how much you enjoyed it. I've done that on several occasions, and I tell you what, it's been the difference between me being able to have, as an example, I did that with somebody that was speaking. I sent them a lovely card saying thank you for, I really loved your presentation, it was amazing. And then we got talking, and I actually had that gentleman on my radio show. And then from there, he's also offered to, which I haven't taken him up on it because it wasn't for that purpose, but he's actually offered some sessions with him for free, which he does speaking. So they're the sort of things that you can do. Appreciation. A nice to meet you card. A nice to meet you card after you've been to a networking event and you've met someone. That is just spot on. It really does cement you completely separate from other people, because how many other people at that networking event have taken the time to do something nice for people within the group? Well, let me tell you, the percentage is low. I use the send out card system, and I've been using that for 7 years, and I do send out cards of appreciation and also nice to meet you cards when I've met somebody at an event. If you'd like to try it, you can go to sendoutcards.com/Lee Cummins. Principle number 4, listening with intent. You'll see that it says listen with your eyes. No, that is not a typo. That is absolutely 100% correct. When we listen with our eyes, we're looking at the person that's speaking to us. We are in their sphere. They say that the eyes are the window to the soul. You are looking in the soul of the person that is talking to you. When you listen with your eyes and you're focused on the person that's listening, you actually are blocking out any other distractions. It means that the listener knows that you are listening. And I'll go through it in a little bit more detail. But you also, when you're listening with your eyes, you also want to make sure that you check your body language and be conscious of your body language. Things like crossed arms mean that you're listening but you're not happy with what you're hearing. Have a look at your leg or feet placement, whether you're sitting or standing. If you're standing and your feet are not facing the speaker and they're out sideways, it means that you're ready to run off. You're not listening. So be mindful of leg and feet placement and your arms. There is a fantastic book on body language by Alan Pease, that's Pease. I'm sure it's available on Amazon, and I have no doubt that it's probably on an e-reader, but Alan Pease has an amazing book on body language. I got it years and years ago, and the pages are just about falling apart because I have highlighted and read it so often. Body language plays a very important part in listening. Try and block out any distractions, things like surrounding noise, people, music, and also visual distractions, things like TVs or screens. When you listen with your eyes, you tend to be able to block out that surrounding noise, the people, the visual distractions, and any music, because you tend to be able to, I'll give you an example. If you are driving along and you're looking for a street sign, how many of you turn the radio off or down when you're looking for a street sign? I bet there's a lot of you nodding your head right now. I do it. When you look with your listen with your eyes, you are breaking down all that other noise. So and all the people and all the distractions, you actually break it down. And that is the same when you're looking for a street sign. I do it all the time. I'm looking for something in the street and I turn the radio down. So be mindful of that. This is one I have to be honest, I really struggle with. It's be interested, not interesting. What that means is that you are being interested in somebody, you're finding out more about them. You're not necessarily being interesting and telling them all about you, which is a big difference. It really is. So it's about being interested in what they have to say and asking questions. Remember that we've got 2 ears, 2 eyes, and 1 mouth. It means that we speak only 20% of the time and 80% of the time we're listening. Now that 20% is made up of asking questions and also giving verbal clues that you are listening. So nodding your head, yes, making verbal clues that you are listening. When we listen, if we ask questions and not tell stories, guess what? We find out so much more about other people, and we also, which I think is just fantastic, is we find out more about them and we are more prone to listen when we ask questions. So how good's that? Now I want to share with you a little story. There was a university professor in America, in New York City, and he was travelling back to LA. So he was in New York travelling back to LA by plane, and he did an experiment. He sat next to a gentleman. Let's call the gentleman Mr. X, and we're going to call Professor. So Professor and Mr. X end up on the plane together. It's quite a long flight, 4 or 6 hours. I'm not sure of the time, but it is a lengthy flight. And the professor decided that he was going to give little information to Mr. X, and he was going to ask lots of questions. So they were flying, and the conversation went for most of the flight. Right at the very end, the university students for the professor interviewed the person, Mr. X. Now remember, the professor was not going to give away much information. He was primarily going to ask questions. When Mr. X got off the plane, he was asked, did he enjoy sitting next to the person that he travelled with? And the answer was yes. And they said, what did they like? What did he like about his travel companion for the day? And the answer was that he sat next to the most interesting person he's ever met. When Mr. X was asked, what did a university professor do for a living? He was unsure. Was he married? He was unsure. In fact, every question, he had no idea about the university professor. However, previously he had been asked what he liked about his travel companion, and the answer was he was the most interesting person he had ever met. It was interesting because he was interested. Everybody loves to talk about themselves, me included. And Mr. X liked the university professor because he took an interest in him. So be interested, not interesting, and use that 20% to ask questions, not tell stories. Principle number 5, follow up and follow through. Guess what? You are going to stand out from the crowd with follow up. Unfortunately, most salespeople and most people that do business forget the main purpose of connecting with people at networking events, and that is to follow up. You really want to make sure that you've got a good follow-up system. Take offline meetings into online. So if you meet someone at a networking event, connect with them on Facebook, connect with them on LinkedIn, connect with them on Twitter, whatever their main area is. Vice versa, if you meet somebody online and the opportunity arises, try and take it offline. Now, if geographically it's not going to work for you, there's things like Zoom, which is free, zoom.us, and there's also Skype. So there's different ways that you can still meet over the internet, but have it more personable. Refrain from doing bulk email thank yous. They are the absolute worst. In fact, I just delete them. I don't even read them these days because I get too many of them. Occasionally I will do a bulk email, but primarily the bulk email is for information. As an example, I went to multiple networking events recently and I had people complete a form if they wanted to find out about some free webinars and my next event. And I did a bulk email out to them. But I do try not to do bulk emails at all. Ask for guidance from people too as to their preferred medium of connecting. Some people do love email. I'm personally not great at email. I never get around to responding to all of them. Some people like phone and some people like SMS. So just ask them what their guidance is. Some people like Facebook Messenger. But make sure whatever communication medium that you use, that each communication has a next step. I'll call you on Tuesday. I'll email you a quote. We'll see you at XYZ networking event. I'll see you at Mind, Body, Spirit Expo, whatever it happens to be. But always make sure that there is the next step in the follow-up. This is also giving you permission that you will follow up with somebody. If someone says, no, don't worry, they're sort of basically pulling back that permission. But when you ask or you say each next step, you're actually gleaning permission from them. Build personal relationships through effective and consistent connections. We've talked about consistency, but it really is important because consistency is also not about just attending events. It's also about being consistent with your follow-up and consistent with your follow-through. Again, stand out from the crowd, send a nice to meet you card. I tell you what, these are, I do send out cards. I still love receiving a card from somebody saying it was nice to meet you. And people forget that even though I do send out cards and I have sent out cards, I actually like to get cards too. And people will stand out from the crowd if they send a nice to meet you card. Again, as I said, I use send out cards, sendoutcards.com/Lee Cummins, and that will give you access to a free card to try it. If you have any meetings or there's something that comes from a networking event, follow through with any action points or plans from the meetings. Now, believe it or not, there's been surveys, and I was quite surprised to hear this, but it's true. Phone calls. People do love the old-fashioned phone call. They like to hear somebody on the other end. And there is a sweet spot for times, call times. The sweet spot is 8 a.m. until 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. So there you go. There's some times to write down for when to catch up and follow up with your prospects. Principle number 6, the connector and connections. The connector is somebody that will think of others first. They will put others before themselves. They get out and meet people. They meet people anywhere and everywhere. Whenever I meet somebody, I always think this question: who do I know that needs to know you? A connector is thinking of another person first. So the question should always be, who do I know that needs to know you? If you don't know enough people, join organisations, go to ad hoc meetings. The local area that I'm in, they have community and neighbourhood meetings about once every couple of months. So every now and then I'll go to one of those just to meet people in the local community. Any type of meeting, you can go to, there's meetings all over the place. There's, council meetings, there's board meetings, there's all sorts of meetings. Pick a meeting, an ad hoc meeting that resonates with you, and maybe, for people that are in your area. It may not be people that necessarily are going to be your client or your customer, but they may know your client or customer. And think about what you're passionate about. Do you have a passion? Do you love dogs? Maybe consider volunteering at the local pet shelter. Maybe you love model aeroplanes. Join the Model Aeroplane Club. Maybe you love bird watching. Join the local bird watchers or photography group. My passion is community radio, so I not only belong to my community radio station, but I also go to other community radio events as well and other community radio meetings. So I'm meeting a lot of different people all the time. This will open up opportunities for you when you've got that think of others first philosophy of who do I know that needs to know you. This will open up opportunities when you start to join organisations, go to ad hoc meetings and open up your network of people that are not just around your business or business networking. Also, when you are a connector and connecting, think ahead before your meeting, learn about your prospect, learn about the person that you are meeting with so that you can work out who that you know that needs to know them. You want to be a resource for the people in your circle of influence. You want to be the go-to person. I get phone calls literally 3 or 4 a week where somebody will phone me and say, Lee, do you know a good accountant? Lee, do you know a website designer? Lee, do you know XYZ company representative? Lee, do you know how to do this? And it is because I have become a connector. I'm a person that has resources or people in my circle of influence that can assist to be a resource to other people. Now, when you're connecting and being a connector and having connections, it's really hard sometimes to keep all the balls in the air. So be prepared to reconnect. It is sometimes that we just get time poor, things happen and we lose our connections, and that is just how life is. So don't be afraid to phone someone and say, look, I miss you. I haven't seen you for ages. Let's catch up for a coffee. Or if the phone feels like cement and you don't know how to, or you don't feel that you can phone them, send them a card. Let's do coffee. 9 times out of 10, the people will phone or SMS you to say, I just received your card. Let's catch up for a coffee. They SMS or phone you, pick up the phone and organise a time, and you've reconnected, and then do the process again. Think of them first. How can or who do I know that needs to know you? Overall, I always recommend get permission to share connections. There are some people that, for whatever reason, they're not comfortable with their information being shared. So do ask the question, can I share your phone number? Can I share your email address or your postal address? But do get permission. So there are 6 principles. Now here's the bonus one. Make sure you got your pen and pad handy because, oh my gosh, we are just going to blow networking out of the water now. So are you ready? The WHO principle. This principle is based on what, when, how, and the outcome. And this equals KPI. So what do I want to achieve from the meetings that I'm going to? When you're going to a networking event, work out, okay, I'm going to this networking event today. What do I want to achieve from it? Now, everybody's going to have a different take on what they want to achieve. Somebody, it might be, I want to gain 2 face-to-face meetings today. I want to meet with a real estate agent. I would like to speak with someone that can help me get a speaking gig. I want a speaking gig at the next event. I need or want an introduction to another type of business owner. So that is the what you want to achieve. The next question is when. When do I want to attend a networking meeting? Do I want to attend at a breakfast meeting, morning tea? Do I want to go out at evenings? Do I want regularity of weekly, daily, monthly? Do I want to network online? When you are asking the question when, you're asking the question, when do I want to attend a networking meeting? Do I want to attend a breakfast meeting, a morning tea, evening, weekly, daily, monthly, or online? Also flip it. Who is attending networking meetings at these times? Who do I want to meet at these networking events? If you want to meet mums with kids, they're probably not going to be at a breakfast meeting, and they quite rarely will be at an evening meeting. They're more likely to be at a morning tea, and it's more likely to be monthly. Now, this is being a generalist sort of answer, but consider those types of scenarios. If you want to meet a tradie, for example, you're probably not going to meet a tradie at a breakfast meeting quite often. It is more likely that you may meet them more at an evening event. So all those types of things, if you know some tradies, ask, and say you need to contact with some tradies, ask them, if you were to go to a networking event, what would be your preference? Breakfast, morning tea, evening? Which one would you attend? And that will give you an idea. How? Now, once you've identified what you want to achieve, when you want to go, you need to start looking at how am I going to keep in touch with the people that I meet? How am I going to capture the new contacts? And how am I going to use my CRM effectively? Now, there's multiple CRMs out there. There's multiple ways too that you can capture information. I've got a fantastic little app called Always Be in Contact. I'm pretty sure, I'm just looking it up. Always Be in Contact. Now, I know it's for iOS. I don't know whether it is for Android, but this is a great little tool that I use all the time, that I just capture emails, phone numbers, and where I met somebody. So my leads will have, as an example, it will have that if I met somebody online, it's got their phone number and what they're interested in, because I've got a couple of parts to my business, and it will send me an alert when I need to follow up. So, so there's that. And finally, the outcome. Now, the outcome is slightly different to what? The outcome is, what is the outcome I want to achieve, and what is the best outcome I can expect? How will I measure a successful outcome? So the outcome may be, I want to achieve growing my business by 20%. The best outcome that I can expect is that I want to grow my business by 30%, and I'm going to measure it on the sales. You know, I'm simplifying that there, but you have outcomes based on what your requirements are for your type of business. Also, you'll possibly look at the outcome based on what type of networking event you're going to and what sort of outlay. Because remember, networking events, they can go from, you know, virtually nothing to $3,000 a year, and everything in between. So your outcome, if you're coughing up, you know, $2 or $3 grand for a networking event for the year, your outcome is going to want to be a lot higher than somebody that's paying $20 a week, $20 a month to go to a networking event. So what, when, how, outcome. And this all leads us to the grand dam of networking, which is KPI. Here we go. KPI is a key person of influence. You want to become a key person of influence in networking, because this will attract business to you, it will attract people to you, it will attract sales to you. A key person of influence is somebody that does business to the beat of their own drum. They're generally not looking left or right, and they're not comparing themselves with other people. They are out there to do business and get their business humming the way they want it to. A key person of influence is a connector, and they create business pictures. They look at ways that they can connect people, and they think about people and how it will all work by creating business pictures. Similar to the cartoon that you've got there, you know, your 1, 2, they basically join the dots to create their business. When they think of people, they think of people but not positions. Now, it's interesting, we were talking just this morning actually at a networking event, and we were talking about gatekeepers and how, you know, quite often people will be hung up that I've got to get to the CEO of the business. I've got to get to the decision maker in the business. A key person of influence knows that it's not necessarily the position that you want to get to, it's the people. So to get through that gate by the gatekeeper, you need to schmooze the secretary. You need to schmooze the gatekeeper so that you can get in to see the CEOs. And key people of influence, they understand that it's not about the position, it's about the person. You'll also find that a key person of influence is someone that attracts opportunities. And, you know, they're the sort of people that you hear it, they're telling you something, or you hear them and they go, oh, I've just been invited to do this, or I'm just going to do that. You think, how did you get that? Oh, I've been trying to do that for years. How did you get that so quickly? It's not quick. They attract opportunities because they're always looking for them, consciously and subconsciously. And because they're always on the lookout for opportunities, they attract opportunities. Now, a couple of years ago, I did a webinar and also a live event, and I was talking about how we subconsciously attract things. And I mentioned a yellow Hyundai. I think it was a Getz or something like that. But this yellow Hyundai I mentioned, and we talked about it for, I don't know, a couple of minutes, similar to this today. And guess what happened? After my live event, everywhere I went, I kept seeing yellow Hyundais. I don't even know why I picked yellow Hyundai in my talk. It just sort of blurted out. Hadn't even thought about them. Well, for days, if not weeks, all I kept seeing was yellow Hyundais. Why? Because my subconscious was subconsciously looking for them, and I was attracting them. I was subconsciously looking for a yellow Hyundai, and I was finding them. It was attracting, they were attracting to me because I was looking for them. And it's the same with opportunities. It's the same if you have a sort of a negative outlook on something, you'll keep attracting that because your subconscious is attracting it. So you want to attract opportunities because you're looking for positive opportunities. Key people of influence will surround themselves with like-minded people. You will find a key person of influence, they're not around negative Nancy's or Debbie Downers. In fact, they will sort of run the other way. They want to surround themselves with entrepreneurs, people that are attracting opportunities, people that are looking for good opportunities. They don't want to be dragged down by someone that sees the negative in anything and everything. They avoid them like the plague. So if you want to be a key person of influence, pop on the positivity hat. The key person of influence, they enter connections with an attitude of an opportunity to serve. I'm going to give you an example, and one that I'm going to give because I know it well. So I run networking events. So I run informal networking events and I run formal networking events. I also go to a few different HeartLink network events, and I know what it's like to be a HeartLink leader. It can be pretty tough because you are trying to make sure that everybody's arrived on time, that new people know what the procedures are, that they're not sitting on their own and haven't been connected with somebody. You're making sure that the morning tea's there, that the coffees have been made, that people are sitting down. The process of the meeting is happening. So it's pretty full on. If you go to a networking event, as I do, I go to other HeartLink network meetings. I went the other week, and the event place hadn't set up the meeting room how they normally do. So the leader was trying to, pull the tables together, and she was running late and she's getting a bit flustered, and we have rosters that we put out. And so I just quickly dropped everything that I had and helped put the tables and the chairs together, helped put the rosters out and the envelopes and, the pens to write down the coffee and what have you. And that was me seeing an attitude or an opportunity to serve. There is times where, don't be the person that goes to a networking event and, you go straight to the host or the hostess and you question, who's coming today? How many have you got? What's happened with this one? Can I do this? Can I have an extra 5 minutes? Can I sit here? Don't be that needy person that just jumps on the host or the hostess. Look at an opportunity to serve, and it could be, Can I put the rosters out for you as an example? Oh, and by the way, who's coming today, and doing it, you can still get that information, but do it in a more subtle and gentle way. Be a contribution to others. So contribute to others, help to, if there's an opportunity in a networking event to offer a testimonial or to offer some support, contribute to others and to help build them up and help to give them value. Look at a key person of influence always knows people and know who to connect with whom. And that's because they get out and they do not only networking events for business, but they get out and do other things as well. Just as we talked about, going and doing something for your passion, whether it's, model aeroplane flying or community radio or dog walking or whatever it is. Key people of influence, they know lots of people because they know who to connect people with. They're also great listeners. Key people of influence are absolutely fantastic listeners. Now, if you have trouble being a listener or you're not sure what sort of questions to ask, because sometimes, you don't want to sound like the Spanish Inquisition, do you? And you sort of get a bit tongue-tied thinking, oh, what sort of questions can I ask? Write this down. There is FORM, F-O-R-M. If you get stuck and you're not sure what sort of questions to ask, these are great questions as fallbacks. You can ask people about their family. Do they have kids? Are they married? Do they live locally? That sort of thing with, with partners or whatever. Occupation. You can put occupation as, their business, find out more about their business. Occupation. Some people have their business, plus they also work. So, find out a bit more about that. Recreation, what they like to do as a hobby. And M can stand for motivation or money. So if, for example, you've got a business opportunity that you're talking about, probably not a networking event, but afterwards, use form as family, occupation, recreation, and money. I actually replace money with motivation because, different things motivate different people. It's not always about the money. Finally, don't complain. Be positive, happy, and helpful. Key person of influence is that person. They're positive, they're happy, and they're helpful. They're not a Debbie Downer. They are definitely not a negative Nancy. They are, positive Penny, positive Pete. They generally, even if something irks them, they won't complain in public. They stay positive, they stay happy, and they stay helpful. And finally, they pay it forward. If there's ever an opportunity to be able to pay something forward, a key person of influence does that. Well, if you put the 6 principles of networking along with the who factor and become a key person of influence, guess what? You are going to be a rocking network person. You are going to be really building business, growing business, connecting people. You are going to be the go-to person. You are going to be the person that everybody wants to be around. These 6 principles, along with the who factor and becoming a key person of influence, is an opportunity, even if you take 10% of what you've learned and start to implement this over the next few weeks, you will see that your business will start to grow. Your connections will start to grow. Your positivity will start to grow. Remember that creating a network, creating some connections starts just with one person. And the first connection starts with you. What you do with it and how you grow and how you build your business is entirely up to you. But please do think about taking these 6 principles and also becoming a key person of influence to help grow and nurture your business. I'd like to go to leecummins.me/colour-training. I've got some training there for you. If you use the code LC Connect, that will give you a discount on my next networking event. My next colour training event. And there's plenty coming up. So just go to that website, leecummins.me/colour-training, and remember that code LC Connect. Don't forget to also connect with me on Facebook. I have a private Facebook group where I share tips, Facebook Live, events, and there's also plenty of discount codes, and that is at LC Connect. It is a Facebook group. It is a closed group, so you will need to ask to join. You can also connect with me at leecummins.me. Thank you so much for joining me today on my free webinar, The 6 Principles of Networking. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope that you've got some value out of the event today. Have a great day, and thank you.